is the Rangers Journal Night.
Good evening and welcome to Thursday's live edition of the Rangers Journal. My name is David Thommo. I'm hosting this evening. We're going to be talking about the European Championships, what's been happening, and I'll look forward to the last 16. I've been joined by Billy in the last couple of pods. Unfortunately, he can't be available tonight, but I've got a couple of good substitutes this evening. So we'll say, first of all, hello to Stevie. How are you tonight, mate?
Buenas noches, compañeros. I'm good, thanks, mate. Yourself?
I'm good, Stevie, and thanks for joining us. Hopefully, we'll have a good conversation. And we've also got Scotty, who's going to join us for a little bit and have a chat. How are you this evening, Scotty?
Hi, not bad at all, mate. Not bad at all. Hey, no doubt we'll end up swinging this onto Rangers somehow. But it's good to go and speak a bit about international football.
Yeah, definitely. I'm sure there will be a little bit of Rangers talk. So we'll start off. Last podcast we done on the Euros, we'd done a preview of Scotland. We're about to play Switzerland, and obviously from there we'd had the Switzerland and the Hungary game that's happened. I'll come to you first, Stevie. First of all, did you watch the two games, and what was your overriding thoughts really on both the games?
I mean, yeah, absolutely. Of course, I watched them. I think at the time, like after we got the draw with Switzerland, we both thought that's a good result. But with the benefit of hindsight, Switzerland only needed a point and they were through. So I think it was an opportunity for us to actually go for it. I feel like most Scotland fans kind of bitterly disappointed that we never showed more ambition. Obviously, the Germany game can write that one off, but certainly Switzerland and Hungary, I felt we should have really kind of shown a bit more an attacking threat, like really try and get the 3 points, be a bit more aggressive, commit players forward. I suppose the draw with Switzerland kept us in the tournament. It gave us something to aim for the last game, so it was a decent result, a kind of okay performance, I would say. It gave them, like I say, that kind of springboard to try and attack Hungary, but yeah, don't know about ourselves, but I've got to come on there saying I'm living the dream, but I think being a Scotland fan, it's like the horrors of life persist, but so do we. It's just it's quite difficult being a Scotland fan at times, and that was a kind of epitome of being a Scotland fan those last two games. What could have been, what should have been, but it wasn't.
Yeah, most definitely, and unfortunately, with the way things ended up panning out, Scotland are officially the worst team at Euro 2016 as well. Scotty, just regarding the Hungary game, did anything surprise you in that game, or was that something that you thought this is expected?
I was actually watching it, having a beer with Stu, who's been on a hit and miss pod a couple of times, and he was like, Hungary's winning this. You can just tell Hungary's winning this. The way Scotland were playing, there was absolutely no momentum in the play. There was no chances getting created. It was very lackadaisical. It was very, very much a Steve Clarke performance, I think it's fair to say. I think looking at it overall, Thommo, when you look at the Switzerland match and you're selling them around about 75th minute, just get Shankland on, get another creative player on and fucking go for it. Do you know what I mean? Just go for a throttle. But it didn't. And ultimately, I'm going to put the blame at the manager's doorstep here and say it's the manager's fault because he's got the quality there and he just doesn't know how to use it.
So I echo everything you've said there, Scott, but to me what's doubly frustrating about the way it panned out, you look at the qualifying campaign, the two games against Spain, like we played with such cohesion, like defending and attacking, like they were not like apprehensive in any way, shape or form. They knew when to attack and they did it so well. So I think they've got it in their locker. I don't know if it's just the fact that they're away for Hampden or whatever, but even the away game in Spain that night were brilliant. So they've done it relatively recently, which really adds to the frustration when you watch what they've done against Hungary and Switzerland. But I agree, like the difference that Shankland made when he came on for the last 15 minutes plus injury time, it was like we looked like we had a focal point. We had a man who could really bring other players into the game. He linked the play, got corners, he created chances. And he's been sitting there on the bench for like 2.5 games, or over 2.5 games, just biding his time. It's like we could have made a much better fist if Clarke had backed the guy that scored 30 goals last season. I'm not saying anything against Jay Adams, but it's like, you know, you need to go there and you need to try and make an impression. You need to try and win a game. We're the only nation that really never tried, like Albania, Georgia. They had a go, they had a real go, and hats off to them.
So I'll just sort of stick on something there, Stevie. You've mentioned the qualifying campaign that Scotland had, and I think we had qualified after 5 games. I think we won our first 5 games and we qualified. And there was a real optimism that this team is moving forwards. And then as soon as we were qualified, the form seemed to have just fell straight off the cliff. I think 1 win in 11 games, and that was a 2-0 win against Gibraltar. In your opinion, what do you put that down to? Because how do you go from a team who has beaten Spain at Hampden, very unlucky probably not to take something in Spain, beat Norway? How can you explain that drop off in form, if you can?
I think it's just a bit of boss. I mean, the only thing that I've been really thinking about recently is that, you know, it's the end of the season. Are our players just not got the same level of fitness, perhaps? I don't know. But we didn't just beat Spain in that game. Like, we're a better team. You know, we really were at the start. It's probably one of the best Scotland performances I've seen since, like, the best Scottish team in my lifetime is probably Walter Smith. I love a memory. It was Walter Smith for that couple of years when he was there. You know, he had some great results. Obviously, we beat France, which was the biggest result for Scotland at that time in like years. And this Scotland team, that night in Spain, they were up there. They were really fantastic. But it was like they got the job done and then they just tapered off for whatever reason. Maybe it's injuries. You know, certain key players like Robertson, he missed a fair chunk of last season with Liverpool. But you know, there was players there at his disposal that Clark should have used. And I don't want to throw Clark under the bus because he has done a good job. You can't deny that. You know, he inherited a bit of a mess for McLeish and Peter Grant. It wasn't a great situation when they took over, and he got us to the Euros 3 years ago. And he's done it again here with a great qualifying campaign. So, you know, you need to give the guy credit for what he's achieved. But on the major stage on both occasions, we've disappointed. Like I say, it might be a bad combination. Like I say, injuries. I mean, I don't want to blame the referee for the game against Hungary because at the end of the day, we weren't good enough, despite the fact we should have had a penalty. They might have had a player sent off. That could have made a huge difference. I do think that smaller nations don't get the decisions. Generally, the bigger nations get, like, if Armstrong had been, you know, Bellingham or Foden, that's a penalty straight away. You know, and the fact that the referee never even looked at it, that was insane. I totally disagree with that decision. But yeah, maybe it was, you know, just a bad set of circumstances for Clark. But if we'd gone out and you know, had a go and lost, people would have been like, well, we had a go, you know, and we never. The fact that we went out so meekly, and as you say, the press like the worst team with the Euros, it's a sore one to take.
Yeah, I mean, you said you didn't want to throw Clark under the bus, and I get what you're saying. My personal opinion is, and people in the comments, you know, have your say, but my personal opinion is when he took over, we needed someone like Clark, someone who would make us hard to beat.
Yeah.
And I think now he doesn't have it in his locker to make us an attacking team that's going to go out and win games. In my opinion, the game against Hungary there, he was looking for a draw. At one point, I think around the 60th minute mark, Angus Gunn was wasting time when it was 0-0. He was taking forever on goal kicks, and that has to come from the manager. And we're needing to win the game. And Scott, I'll come to you because I know you're a massive fan of the guy, Lawrence Shankland. What more does he need to do to get a game? Che Adams plays for Southampton. I haven't got his stats to hand for Southampton last season. I don't think he was that overly prolific. He scored 2 goals in his last 19 Scotland appearances. And you've got Lawrence Shankland, who has scored over 60 goals in the last 2 seasons. And if you add in the injury to Lyndon Dykes, had he been fit to go, would Shankland have even got any minutes? What's your take on Shankland in a Scotland jersey and what he needs to do to get to get a regular game.
The main question I've got, Thommo, is how's Shankland not signing for Rangers? What else does he need to sign for Rangers? Never. See, right, let's look at Shea Adams, right? Against Switzerland, I thought he had a very good game. He's out of box work. It was exactly what Scotland needed. They held the ball up, they linked play. I thought Shea Adams had a brilliant match, but he tired after 75 minutes. That's time for Shankland to come on. Shankland then comes on against Hungary. He gets about 15, 20 minutes. I think he created a chance. He flashed the ball across the goal. Don't get it wrong, I would rather he was in a box receiving that ball, but nobody else was doing anything. So this is ultimately a problem. I like what he says about Steve Clarke. I think Steve Clarke was the right guy at the right time, but he's not anymore. No. We've now qualified for two tournaments and went absolutely nowhere under him. I think we've had 2 points or something in the 2 tournaments he's had. It's not good enough for the players he's got at his disposal. See, if you look at a team like Scotland have got on paper with Scott McTominay, John McGinn, I'll even include Callum McGregor on it, because Andy Robertson, Nathan Patterson, but to name a few, there's quality all throughout the squad, in my opinion. Brian Christie had a good season at Bournemouth, and he doesn't know how to handle it. It's a bit like England too. Southgate's not got a clue. He's actually not got a clue how to get a team playing together. And thankfully, Southgate's the manager, because see, if they had a half-decent manager, they'd be flying. They've got one of the best teams in the world. No doubt about it in my eyes. But back to Scotland, it's Clarke's futures. There's got to be questions. He's had a good spell in the qualifiers where he's beaten Spain. The result away to Norway was really, really good. But looking at those games in hindsight, it was very smash and grab away to Norway. Ran out of the park twice in 8 minutes or something. We won a game. You know what I mean? Like, it's all about nullifying instead of going for a jugular. Like, you're at a tournament, what you got to lose. You know what I mean? Like, take a handbrake off and let the boys go for it.
The pace was so slow. It was like, just.
It's like watching Rangers, Stevie. It's like watching Rangers when they that horseshoe fit man, they go with Lundstrom and Borna session that time. Side to side, back to front, side to side, back to front. It's the same.
I don't know about yourselves, but just funny you said about Southgate. I was speaking to my dad last night, and he described Southgate and Clarke as two cheeks of the same backside. And I was like, there's definitely parallels to be drawn there. But I'd love to see David Moyes. I think you should try and always get the best try and get the best manager, but if you get the best Scottish manager, David Moyes would be my pick, like, straight away. He's available. They've made a decent bit of bunch. First tournament, I think it's about €10 million the SFA have got. Go out and get a decent, like, the absolute best manager you can get. And I think he would. You mentioned those players there, Scotty, McGinn, McTominay, Robertson, players who are playing at a high level in England, at the highest level in England. Mm-hmm. I think Moyes would come in, and I think players would respect him, and he would drive the standard up, and he would take them on. Get a guy like McInnes, assistant, even like a Kevin Thompson, player like guys that are in Scotland just now who know the game. He could be like your assistants, and there's a future there. I don't think it will happen, but ideally for me, David Moyes would be the way to go.
And I think as well, it's not just the style of play that Clarke has, but his interviews over the tournament didn't really leave you, wanting. I mean, if I was a player and I heard him talking, it wouldn't be getting me out of my seat and wanting to run through brick walls. It was very uninspiring, arguing with journalists. It just seemed, I don't know if it's arrogance or whether that's just the way the guy is, but the whole demeanour of him just didn't seem right. And one of the comments that was just popped up there said, look at Georgia. Georgia finished 4th in our qualifying group, and they've got in through the Nations League, and they're now playing a last 16 game on the weekend. Mm-hmm. They took the game on, was it last night against Portugal? They took the game to them and fairly deserved their win. Fairly deserved it. They beat one of the favourites for the tournament. And you look, why can teams like that, like Albania, do those sort of things? And yet when it comes to Scotland, we get to a tournament, and it almost seems as though it's damage limitation. Is that just a trust or a non-trust in the players, Stevie? What do you think?
Potentially, I think I mentioned before, it's a lack of ambition, and I've really felt like the fans over there, because I know it's well documented, but the fans have been fantastic. They really have left a lasting impression. My cousin, he's been on it for 2 weeks, went to each game, and he put a post up on Facebook saying it's been 2 of the best weeks of my life. It was such a fantastic time, apart from the football. And you know what I mean? That it's great. It's like it's sad. It's like, you know, you've gone into that situation really, you know, wanting your team to do well, and like the team has to reflect the fans. Like, just have a go. But I'm sorry, I don't know the answer to that question, David. It's just you know, they need to be better. But like I say, if they got a guy at the top, a guy who's got real ambition, like you mentioned, George, I think they've got is it Samuel's ex-France defender, World Cup winner? They've got a guy there who's been there and done it. I'm not saying he's a great manager, but he's obviously got experience at the top level, and he knows how to have a go. I mean, to be fair to Georgia, I mean, they didn't just like attack last night. They kind of defended like 8 men and left the 2 boys up, but it was controlled. You know, it was really, really like a great game plan. So something like that I'd love to see with Scotland, because we definitely deserve better, and we've got the players. This is probably the strongest squad we've had in a long time. So they need to start utilising it.
So Scotty, just going on what Stevie mentioned there about the fans, it's almost like the impression that the fans are happy to be there. It doesn't matter about what happens afterwards. We've got there. That's it. You look at the contrast between the Scotland fans and the England fans. England finished top of a group, not been playing great football, but they finished top of their group, and the fans in the stadium are booing the players. Now, I wouldn't like to see that, don't get me wrong, but is there a thing that maybe the fans need to ask a bit more, the media need to ask a bit more of Clark? Because from what I've seen, I obviously don't live in Scotland, but from what I've seen, he seems to have had a pretty easy ride of it. There's not been any real hard questions asked of him. So do you think the fans' mentality needs to change?
No, because I think if you get my fans' mentality change, you take it all magic out of Tartan Army. For me, watching them go in these places, it's outstanding. It's something I always wanted to do in my lifetime, especially when I was younger, and I was more a Scotland fan than what I am now. I'm happy to be a Telly supporter now, but I don't know. It's hard because if you go down that route, Thommo, you're in danger of turning into English, because that's essentially how the English treat their national team, and they always have done. I was a lad, I was a wee boy. You know what I mean? They've always think that they're better than what they actually are. You saying, Stevie?
No, go ahead. Sorry.
I think it does need change though, and I think the SFA need to grow a pair and act now. Stevie's saying about David Moyes. I'd rather they just go and get McInnes, because I think McInnes is ready for a big break, and I think a Scotland job would be a big break for him. It's just whether or not he would want to leave the day-to-day aspect of football. That's kind of what it all ties down to. It's a strange one, Thommo. It's a strange one, because I enjoy watching the Tartan Army getting these tournaments. And I've had pals for school that have guys that have been to Lithuania and Iceland and all these places, all different weird and wonderful countries, watching Scotland. They absolutely love it, and it's a shame that we've got the players but no the management to give the fans what they deserve.
Yeah.
Sorry, Stevie, were you wanting to jump in with something there, mate?
About England, I think they're actually much improved now. Like Southgate, you know, I think he could have got a lot more stick than what he has received, to be fair, the way they're playing. But just something about I'd be happy, be delighted with McInnes, to be fair. But I think the Scotland, I think international football could be a part-time job. I don't think it has to be full-time. It's 6-7 games a year. You can manage a club and the country, you know. They've got the time. I think it's something that they could look at, even if looking at a bigger name. Like you think of Chelsea when they had Gus Hiddink. He was South Korea's boss. Got him to the World Cup semis. I know it was a long time ago, but you know, it can be done. But yeah, McInnes would be good. I agree with that.
I mean, I think sort of sticking point with someone like Moyes is he's just came from West Ham. I think he was on like £4 or £5 million a year.
Aye.
And I think his stock would still be fairly high that he could get another job with that. And I don't think the SFA. So I think if Moyes was to comment would have to be for the love of it and rather than the financial aspect. But again, we go back to sort of Scotland in the Hungary game, and I would say the squad in general. When we needed a goal and we got into that last sort of 10 minutes and we're throwing players on, he's called up at the last minute, the lad Conway from Bristol City, who's had a half-decent season, scored a few goals. I think he scored more than Shea Adams this season, from what I recall.
Yeah, that's right.
And he didn't get on the pitch, but Lewis Morgan did, who hasn't had a cap in 4 years and is playing in the MLS. I believe he's been getting played as a striker. Do you think that is just? Do you think that was Clark just chucking everything at it, or is that a desperation?
Is that me, Thommo? Yeah.
Sorry, Scotty. Yeah, sorry, Scotty.
It's an act of desperation in my eyes, to be honest with you. I think that, I think even looking at him on certain press conferences, he wasn't very convincing about his team. It certainly didn't look like a man that knew what he was doing to me. Striking aspect, like I said, getting back to the Hunger game, Shea Adams did have a good game. He's probably I'm thinking on the Switzerland game. Shea Adams was hopeless in the Hunger game. The whole team was hopeless though. But then Hunger had a very difficult side to play against. But we watch a team that play against lesser teams who bank up and play against a low block, and Scotland came up against that and didn't know how to deal with it. To me, that's how it looked and how it came across, Thommo. It looked like a team that was bereft of ideas, struggling with just struggling in general with any kind of identity or style of play. I mean, you weren't even getting a long ball off them because Dykes wasn't on and Adams wouldn't win a long ball. So that's one thing I've always remembered when I was a wee boy out of Scotland. It was always about winning your second balls, getting into tackles, and then they get punted up the park, because that was just how I was raised, and that was just Scottish football in general. It was all about a bit of desire and passion, and we didn't even hit the basics right against Hungary. We've been out with a whimper. We've been out very Scotland-like, but usually it's a glorious failure. We didn't even get that this time.
That's what I was going to say. It's like we can't even say it was a glorious failure where, you know, we've been unlucky in the last minute and conceded and went out. It was just, as you say, went out with a whimper. And I think you could tell sort of early on in that game, I think you hit the nail on the head there, Scotty. Hungary knew we couldn't play through them, that we didn't have either the ability or the tactics to play through them. And they were just like, there you go, have the ball. We'll get a chance at some point. But in my opinion, we should have had a penalty. It was a foul on Armstrong. And you see last night the penalty that was given for Georgia against Portugal. And again, you look at that and you think, how can there be the inconsistencies? I do think during this Euros, on the whole, refereeing VAR has been very good. But you see those two incidents and you think, how can there be such a contrast? And even for the referee not to be sort of asked to have another look at it, did you find that strange, Stevie, or what was your thinking behind it?
Honestly, I said before, it was such a strange non-occurrence. You know, there was something there. Go have a look. Why are you not checking? Like, it was plain. You know, at first I was like, it's a penalty. I was like, oh, was it a penalty? Because the way he went down, I thought, did he grab the defender? And it's like, no, it's definitely a penalty. So go check. Just something there. Just obviously Shankly should have played. I would have also played Forrest instead of Ralston. I mean, with too popular opinion, Celtic player, but he finished the season really well. You know, and he never got any minutes. It's like, you need to win a game, put him on the right wing back. He'll make something. He'll make a chance. He'll make a cross, whatever. But yeah, we were really like, if we get the penalty, probably score. It's a different game. But overall, you can't say we deserve to win that game of football. You know, that there was no ambition. I mean, Hungary weren't great either, but it could have been so much better. You know, Shanks has started, Forrest has started. Well, it's easy to manage a game after it, but to me, before the game, that's what we should have done. Be a little bit more aggressive, and then you kind of make your own luck. Maybe it wouldn't have come down to a penalty if we'd been a wee bit more, like I say, attacking and aggressive for the start. Look at Georgia last night, first minute, going for it. That's the attitude you want.
So, final thoughts, Scotty, really on Scotland and where they go from here, and what do you think the future holds? We're in the top league of the Nation League now. I think we've got Poland, Portugal to play. Off the top of my, I think possibly Croatia is the other team that we need to play, and they start in September. So what's your thoughts on Scotland going forward here, Scotty?
Here comes the downward spiral, Thommo. That's my thoughts going forward. If that's their Nations League group, they've not got a chance winning any of that way. Steve Clark in charge. Steve Clark has, I'd say he's maybe ran his race now. I think he's got Scotland the 2 tournaments. He's been a good manager, but I think it's time to build on it now and bring in somebody better, somebody more equipped that will know how to. I mean, Dado's plus those blue boots. No tactical awareness, somebody to come in with a game plan, a vision, an identity, and you know what? That can then start something that in 10 years we'll see the fruits of. We've seen it in recent years with like Mark Watt coming in. He was trying to put a plan in place for youth development and all that kind of thing. And so we did an identity, and then Mark Watt leaves. And we reach a tournament, and then we do nothing on it. So I really strongly think we need a style of playing, whether that's just being a kind of a hard team to play against, or we can get a ball on the deck, or you mix and match it, or you play quick football, anything. We just need something so that we can see, because these players are better than what they're showing just now. Yeah. So for me going forward, you strip it back, you sack Clark, you bring in somebody that's more than capable. I mean, see, even with the income from the Euros, why don't we go out and do what Republic of Ireland done a few years ago and get somebody like Trapattoni? I think somebody says it in a group chat a while ago.
That was me.
Aye, it was you, Stevie. Aye. Like, why don't we just go out and sign somebody that can come in and do a job? See, even look at a job that what's the guy's name was in Man United? He's Austria now. Look at Austria. Ralph Rangnick. Look at a job he's done. A style of play they're playing. Go out and get somebody like that. Go out and get an absolute genius and stick with it. Do you know what I mean? But we've not got an absolute genius just now. We've got a guy that's good, but now that he's took us to where he is, he's not good enough, if that makes any sense. Because these players are better than Clark.
Yeah.
And that might sound harsh, but I think that now that we are making competitions on a regular basis, it's now time to start trying to make a dent in them competitions.
Yeah, some good points. And as I say, we had a good conversation about it a few weeks back on one of the pods. If people want to go back and have a look about the state of Scottish football in general and what we can, what can be done to improve it. So, same to you, Stevie. Have you got anything you'd like to add to what Scott has said, or do you think he's summed it up fairly well?
Yeah, really good summary. Go out and get, like I say, try and pay top dollar for somebody who has a big name, who's really knows the game inside out. It'd only be a good thing. One of the comments that I just caught the comment, never caught the name, but he said about when Walter, the Scotland boss, he basically made it like a club team. And that's right. I remember I think it was supposed to be his first game in charge of a friendly. They never had a game. He just had a get together. It was like 4 or 5 days or maybe a week with the players. And he was like, this is what we're going to do. And they just trained. And I think for that first meeting, it was like everybody bought into it. I'm not saying we can recreate that, but he's somebody who's just really single-minded and driven, and they've got a clear vision, and they can take them to the next level. And I agree with Scotty. Stevie Clark he's done well in what he's done, but I think he's at the end of his road, and we need somebody else to take on this group of players to the next level.
Yeah, good summary, I think, there, chaps. So we'll move on to some other parts of the Euros. I'm going to start with Romania, because they've obviously got one of our players, Hadji, playing for them. He had a good 60, 65 minutes yesterday, won a penalty for them. And I was reading today that his involvement, Romania getting through to the last 16, next Rangers just short of £500,000. They should they qualify for the quarterfinals, then that'll go up to just under 800,000. So it shows the importance really of having players at these tournaments for the income of the club. So I'll start with you, Stevie.
Mm-hmm.
What has your thoughts been on the Euros? Has anything sort of surprised you? Is everything going the way you thought it would be? What's your thoughts at this, sort of the halfway stage, really?
I mean, I'm kind of missing it today, to be fair. We've had 2 weeks of solid football. It's like the first day without it, so yeah, I'm definitely missing it. But yeah, I think it's been fantastic. I don't know what you think, but I've really enjoyed it. Like, but Scotland to the side, it's been a great tournament, like really good attacking football. You kind of touched on like the referee and the VAR. Overall, I think it's been excellent. It's no interrupted games really. We have a couple of occasions it's kind of cropped up. Interestingly, when it was like the English officials, so they're not just like dodgy at home; they're also on the international stage. They're not the best, but yeah, I think it's been really, entertaining so far. And you touched on Austria there. To me, Austria have been probably the kind of the surprise package. They've been so impressive. Everything today is like really good to watch. So just like a team coming out of nowhere almost. I know they've got a lot of good players, but yeah, for me, Spain, Portugal, Austria, really impressive. France and Italy, kind of working their way into the tournament. People always say certain teams are going to play their way into the tournament, and they're doing that. They're still, they're in second gear. They've not really got going at all. Had a lot of kind of pundits say the same about England, but I don't buy that for a second. To me, they look so disjointed. There's no real cohesion, but they've got such a talented squad of players. I think England can win it, but it would be in spite of the manager, not because of him, because they've got that much talent and they've got leaders on the pitch as well. So I wouldn't be surprised if England go the way to the final, because especially that side of the draw, they're pretty good. But some managers are pretty lucky in football. And like the expression, like somebody when they're lucky, like they're flowing the Clyde and they'll come out like clutching a salmon. Well, Southgate could flow on the Rhine and they'll come out clutching that Euros trophy. You know what I mean? He's just lucky manager to have that squad of players at his disposal.
Yeah, and same to you, really, Scotty. Has any team taken your eye that you think? You touched on Austria, but do you think that the winners are going to come from one of the big hitters, or do you think a team like Austria can cause a bit of an upset?
I still think that France are going to win it. I think you could potentially take England's hand and try and walk them to the final, and they'll still run away for you. I don't think England could be one good performance away for kicking on, but I can't see it, to be brutally honest with you. The guys in charge, thankfully, is hopeless. You can't get the best out of that squad of players, so I'm ruling England out. I reckon they'll maybe get put out in the quarters. Smoke my draws come in. Portugal, after their performance last night. I think Ronaldo's a bit dated now. I put this in a chat with Mitchie all night, and I was getting a wee bit of a set too with him. But we're having a laugh about Pepe and all that, and he was saying, "Oh, Pepe's done, blah blah blah."
Pepe's amazing.
He went out and get man of the match that night, right?
Pepe, do you know what Pepe reminded me? He looked like Davy Weir on steroids. I was like,
he's unreal. He's brilliant, man. Brilliant. He's an absolute animal. And I know for a fact Paul's going to come in and chat in a minute. Like, Rangers need to sign Pepe. But it's been a good competition. It's been very good to watch. I thought the first 2 round of matches were the best. I thought the last round of matches, nobody wanted to get beat. There was a lot of nil-nils in amongst it. And then you see a team like Georgia just go and scalp Portugal. Like, they scalped Portugal last night. That wasn't just a Paul in, I tell you. Paul and Pepe for Rangers. That wasn't just a sit backs to the wall performance and counter them. Georgia competed last night against a right good side, and that's what you expect to see out of Scotland. Now, Georgia, remind me, kind of similar to Wales with Gareth Bale in the team. Yeah, that boy, I can't pronounce his name, but he plays for Napoli.
Napoli boy.
I think he's away to Paris Saint-Germain. But back to Portugal for 2 minutes. I'm probably going to get pelters in the comments for saying this, but I think Portugal are a better team without Ronaldo in them now. I think if Ronaldo comes off the bench, he's getting much more of a chance of having an impact than what he is just starter striker. It feels to me as if he's slowing the play down. And it's always looked like you're trying to put a square peg in a round hole with Ronaldo in Portugal. He's just, I don't know what it is. It just doesn't look as if he fits in that team. He never has done. He'll score you loads of goals. I mean, I'm not...
Scored about 140 goals.
I'm not arguing with his international record, Stevie, but see it major tournaments, it looks as if it's a Ronaldo show and it's not so much a team running about Portugal, whereas that Ramos boy come on last night and Jota, you've seen a bit of a difference in the play. They started making wee like half chances and all this kind of stuff, and I think Portugal maybe need to look at developing Ronaldo to win it. Probably a bit of a controversial statement, but I just think with the guy's age and he's playing in Saudi and stuff now, I think it's a change that needs to be made. Who else is there? Romania surprised a lot of folk. I get Ukraine in the sweepstake and work, and when Romania scudded Ukraine, I was like, oh well, that's it. Wasn't expecting that at all. Romania have got a really, really good side. I could see them maybe making it to quarters. Who have they got in
Holland, I think.
They got Holland.
Holland, yeah.
I've got my Holland tap up the stair in the job, but I know they're not going to win it. I would love to see how I've been in love with Holland since I was a wee guy, man. I love the colour, I love everything about it. All the greats that have played for them in the past, but they've just not got the quality anymore, have they? They don't seem to have that kind of team spirit in the minor. Spain
look great.
Chris Paul says in the Rangers Journal chat he was going to put Spain in Morata and a lot of folk laughed at him. And they've probably been a teammate tournament so far. What do you think?
Oh, they just look, I agree with Portugal. I think Portugal look really good, like really cohesive and whatever, but Spain just look like the real deal. And I've got them in their sweeps, so I'm delighted about that. But they just, they've got quality in every single position. And then the two wingers, the young boy, he's like 16, and Nico Williams, I mean, I know like Morata, but he's still a really decent striker when you've got that kind of service now. They're just, for long enough with Spain, you always looked at them and thought there's no kind of end product, there's no cutting edge. And they've kind of solved that. They really look, deliveries are brilliant, really on point, and just, I think to me, Spain or Germany. I know you say France, but I think it'll be Spain or Germany that win it in the end.
Yeah, I think you knocked the nail on the head there, Stevie, about Spain. The last Euros, they got knocked out by Italy. And I remember watching the game, and it looked like Spain's only goal there was to just keep the ball away from Italy. We just couldn't put the ball in the net. And it looks like they've solved that. And I think that's a great shout that Spain. Paul there saying Belgium have been pretty poor.
Tom, obviously Lukaku all about, man. On his take.
No, this is the thing.
He's like a centre back playing up front, isn't he?
I've said this about Lukaku before, and again, I'm willing to take pelters here, but it's one of these Mandela effect things where he's scored 80 odd goals for Belgium, which is a brilliant record. But all I can remember is him missing chances. I can't remember him scoring, big winning goals, like the likes of Messi, Ronaldo has done. And as I say, I'm willing to take pelters for it, but but again, that's that sort of golden generation of Belgium that they had for maybe a 10-year period, coming to the end of it now. And we can talk a little bit about Croatia as well. They've been knocked out, and again, the likes of Modric, that's quite possibly his last tournament. It's
quickly on Lukaku. Who is the Scotland striker? Chris Alumo. An Norway miss. Lukaku is like an amazing version of him, like a world class version of him. That's what he's like. I know what you mean about the misses.
Is there such thing as a world class version of him?
Aye. See, one thing about Belgium, they are really old at the back, but going forward, the guys like Doku, he's a phenomenal player. He's like a speedboat without a driver. He just causes carnage. So I wouldn't know like Belgium. Game of Thrones.
I don't think I can agree with you there, Stevie. I don't think they've. But,
Who've
you
they got
know,
in the?
come July 14th, we'll see.
Oh, they
But
will no chance. They're going to. You're right.
So yeah, looking forward to the weekend games. Can you see any upsets coming there? Obviously, we've got Georgia, Slovakia are in there. They're probably the two, I'd say, smallest, lowest ranked teams. Romania. Can you see any of these teams getting through, or do you think when it gets to the quarterfinals, we're going to have the likes of, you know, France, Germany, Spain, England? How do you think it's going to pan out?
I think
Stevie.
Sorry. Switzerland play Italy. I think that's a pretty good tie because remember Switzerland beat the French at the last Euros. That was a brilliant game. So I expect Italy to win. I hope they win because the winner of that game plays the winner of England Slovakia. So hopefully Italy end England's participation. But yeah, I think that's a really good tie. The other ones I'm just looking at them now. Who you got? Yeah, you said obviously England Slovakia. Germany Denmark. Denmark was really good against England. I thought they were very unlucky. The referee was like a 12th man for England as well. So, you know, it was really unfortunate there. But yeah, I think you're right. I think the favourites, you know, the cream rises to the top. And yeah, I expect all the big hitters to get through. I'd be surprised if they didn't. Austria got Turkey. That's a good game as well. That'll be a cracking atmosphere. But I expect to be Austria playing. They'll definitely make it through as well.
And yourself, Scotty, what's your thoughts going forward? How do you see it panning out?
Spain will beat Georgia in extra time. I think that's going to be a really close game. That keeper, single Valencia goalkeeper, Mamashashvili. He is unbelievable, that boy, man. Germany will beat Denmark. Portugal will beat Slovenia. That'll be extra time as well. France will easy work of Belgium. Romania will beat Holland. Austria to beat Turkey. England to beat Slovakia. And I'm going to go with Switzerland to put Italy out. I don't think Italy have been in fantastic. No. And I think Switzerland on their day carry an awful lot. And a big ha-ha to Hungary who never made it through.
And just finally, before we sort of wrap up, has there been any player, Stevie, that's sort of caught your eye that you maybe, you know, weren't aware of, or maybe a little bit unknown? Is there anyone that's really sort of stood out and think, you know, have a look at him?
I mean, there's no chance the Rangers getting him, but the young Turkish lad who plays with Real Madrid, I can't remember his name. I mean,
Ardut, I think his name is it? Ardut.
I mean, his goal, it was genuine. It was like selling a comic book strip. It was like, wow, like the stuff dreams are made of. He just knocks it at his feet. Doesn't even think about it. He knows exactly what he's doing. It's like, that's going to top corner. It was like, bang. That, to me, that was the best kind of goal moment of the tournament. And the Turkish fans, obviously, going absolutely bananas. They've been great. The atmosphere in every game they've been involved has been phenomenal. But yeah, that was a kind of standout kind of player for me in moment. Really enjoyed it. Hope they... Well, no, I think I would like Austria to go through, to be fair, but that'll be a close game. I think that might be an absolute belter of a game between those two teams.
The same to you, Scotty. Is there anyone that stood out that you've thought, you know, wouldn't mind seeing them at Rangers? Keep it realistic, not Pepe or Ronaldo.
I went to complain about Pepe at Rangers, but I don't think anybody would.
Oh no, I wouldn't complain. I just don't think it's very, very realistic, and he's hardly unknown.
I like the boy Razvan Marin playing for Romania. He's really stood out. He's scored like 2 goals. He's a midfielder. I'm just looking at him just now. He's on loan at Empoli. He's 28 years old. I think he's Cagliari's club is. He's had a really, really good tournament. In terms of quality, I think that's pretty much what it would bring. It kind of makes that Romania side tick. So that would probably my kind of player of the tournament for a smaller nation. But it's kind of hard to tell. It's not been a tournament where you've seen guys for Albania stand up and look really, really good. there would have been guys for Georgia that played really well last night, but they're not well known. They've not done it over 2 or 3 matches, you know what I mean? So there's nobody that's actually came and took a tournament by storm. But in terms of a Rangers transfer target, if that's where you're coming at, that's who I would probably go for, Thommo, because I think Rangers still are missing a bit of class in midfield. Depending on where we're going to go with that, with Kenny McLean or Damien Garcia still not signed a new deal as far as I've read on follow. So it's kind of still up in the air. Could be doing with a wee bit of proven experience, a guy in his prime years. Dado Perso's Blue Boots. Dado Perso, he's been banging this guy's drum for the last couple of pods. Can't see his name. Zam Karnic. He's a right back for Slovenia. I don't know anything about him, but Slovenia have had a couple of good performances in there as well. But see, in comparison to Georgia, Georgia took a game to Portugal last night. Slovenia have been very good defensively. Very good defensively. That back four is going to be worth a few million quid.
They showed that 4-4-2 can still work.
Mate, I'm a pure romantic about 4-4-2, man. I miss Perso and Ovo, McCoist and Haitley. And imagine, I mean, just for talking sake, imagine Shankland and Danilo next season, you know what I mean? Yeah. That would be epic, man. Epic. But it's not going to happen.
No, you're right.
There's an idea for a pod, Scott. There you go. Rangers strikers down the years, 4-4-2 or one up front. For what it's worth, I've liked the look of the centre forward for Georgia. He's got 3 goals. Fair enough, 2 of them have been penalties, but I think his sort of movement, his strength. I can't pronounce the chap's name, so I apologise for that. But I think he's looked a good player. So what we'll do is I'll thank you, gentlemen, for coming on. It's been a good chat. So Stevie, any final thoughts before we finish, mate?
Well, thank you very much for having me on. It's been a really good hour. It's been a great tournament, and I hope everybody enjoys the rest of it. And fingers crossed England don't win it, which I'm sure they'll know.
Thanks again, Stevie, for coming on. It's been an absolute pleasure. And Scotty, any final thoughts from you?
No, thank you for carrying a Euro flag for us, Thommo. It's been a good ride, so it has. It's been class. Hit a like button, like and subscribe. Tomorrow night, I think we're back. What time is it? What time's it at tomorrow night? I think it's 7:30. Probably going to do a set piece pod tomorrow night. We're not doing it tonight because I wasn't putting out 3 pods in one day. That's just overkill. So thank you for tuning in, Thommo. Thank you for having me.
No, again, thanks for coming in, Scott. Sort of last minute, that's much appreciated. And as always, thank you to the people that have been getting involved in the comments. We have been looking at them, and I say that's what the podcast is here for, to be interactive with people and get everyone involved. We're here to talk about, obviously, Rangers. This podcast is about the European Championships, but any ideas, give us a shout. And what I will say is we've got a lot of good pods coming up. We've had a lot of good podcasts the last couple of weeks, player breakdowns. So please, if you've not had a chance, go back and have a look at them. A lot of work goes into them, and they're definitely worth the watch. So I'll wrap up by just saying thank you, everyone. Like and subscribe. And remember, every night is a Rangers Journal night. Good night.